Americans charge the credit card for the Super Bowl, and how Ford Motor Company lost $5.1 billion. Today, I read an interesting article on foxbusiness.com written by Eric Ravel, titled American Super Bowl Spending to Rise Despite Inflation Worries. The author of this article referenced a study by LendingTree, which revealed that 75% of Americans plan to tune into the Super Bowl. 31% of those people plan to spend less on Super Bowl festivities than last year, while 19% plan to spend more. Americans who plan to spend money on Super Bowl festivities plan to spend $142 on average, which is an increase of 22% from last year. Here are my thoughts. This is an interesting and well-written article, but there is something the author did not discuss, which I'd like to talk about. How much of the money being spent on these Super Bowl festivities is paid for with the use of credit cards by consumers who don't have the ability to pay off the statement balance in full at the end of the billing cycle? I suspect there are Americans who get so caught up in the hype surrounding the Super Bowl that they fall into debt because of it. I know a guy who put over $5,000 on his credit card to buy a Super Bowl ticket for a previous game. He went by himself. I did not ask him if his wife didn't want to go or if he didn't have enough of a credit card limit to purchase a second ticket. I might mention he did not have the ability to pay off that balance by the end of the billing cycle. He just didn't want to miss the big game. I'm sure there are people here in America who are throwing Super Bowl parties with the use of credit cards who don't have the ability to pay off that debt incurred. In a way, I almost feel like events such as the Super Bowl are reminiscent of what happened during ancient Rome. The Romans had gladiator battles in the Colosseum, which distracted its citizens from the political and economic problems of the day. These events were also an opportunity for the rich and powerful of that era to get attention and show off their wealth. It's not much different than today in some ways. I remember last year reading an article about the private jet parking problem many wealthy people were having who planned to attend the Super Bowl. There were too many private jets and not enough parking spaces. You have the super wealthy upset about private jet parking, and then you have the average Joe and Janes who are loyal fans and going into debt for the Super Bowl. This is quite the dichotomy. It seems to parallel our society. We have the super wealthy who control most of the wealth in the world, while the masses see their purchasing power erode and their standard of living decline. Fortunately, the modern Super Bowl is more civilized than what was happening in the Colosseum. People are not battling each other to death like during the Roman era. With that said, these players could still develop something chronic like CTE, which is a brain disorder caused by repeated head injuries. Let's hope these players stay safe. Getting back to the article, the author said 41% of Super Bowl watchers plan to place bets. Of these people, 41% plan to wager $100 or more, and a similar number report they will use a credit card to place their bets. My friends, this is interesting information. I just have to wonder, how many of the people using a credit card to place these bets have the ability to pay off that debt at the end of the billing cycle in full? There are people who bet on sports who go into debt to do so. For some, this debt snowballs out of control as they hope the next bet will pay off and bail them out. Maybe you know people like this. If you do, tell me about them in the comment section below. The author of this article went on to reference a Bank of America Market Landscape Insights study, which revealed that consumers spend an average of $1,122 on sports annually, which includes everything from attending games to buying athletic equipment. Here are my thoughts. There are a lot of people who are obsessed with sports. For many, one or more days of the week are spent glued to the television cheering for a particular team. Then, there are parents who refinance their house to fund travel sports for their children. We have a culture that is very sports-centered. When I taught high school decades ago, I received a tiny budget for my classroom, but the football program and band program that performed at the football field received enormous budgets. This was often discussed extensively at lunchtime among faculty who were upset about it. I want to focus for a moment on that $1,122 average amount spent on sports annually by consumers. Imagine if that money each year was dollar cost averaged into a well-diversified portfolio during the working years of those consumers. With possible compounding returns, some of those consumers could end up with a nice nest egg by retirement age. Some prefer YOLO, which stands for You Only Live Once. So enjoy the money now and worry about the future later. The problem is, later will arrive before you know it. Some people will be among the countless Americans who reach retirement age with little to no savings and lack the ability to sustain themselves on Social Security alone. It baffles me that people don't understand their spending on sports is enriching athletes and different professional sports organizations and their owners. In the end, why does it really matter if a team wins or loses? How does that enrich your life? After the big game ends and you turn the television off, how has your life changed for the better? Well, I'll let you answer those questions in the comment section below. Now, I read another interesting article today. This one was on foxbusiness.com, written by Eric Revelle, titled, Ford Expecting Mounting EV Losses This Year. According to the author, Ford reported that its EV division, known as Model E, lost $5.1 billion in 2024. The author went on to say, Ford's announcement comes after automakers' EV initiatives struggled in 2024 amid sluggish consumer demand compared to past expectations and increasing pricing pressure from rivals. Now here's what is interesting. General Motors does not report its electric division's sales and financial figures separately like Ford does. My friends, this is all very interesting. If I had to guess, I would say GM's report wouldn't look pretty. My heart goes out to Ford, who lost $5.1 billion in 2024. That is a depressing amount of money to think about. I have to wonder what Henry Ford would think about all this if he were still alive. I don't think he would have jumped on the EV bandwagon so quickly. He was slow to innovate during the early years of Ford. While companies like General Motors were innovating back then, he was stuck on the Model T for a long time. Henry Ford built the Model T as practical and affordable transportation for the common man, and it was prized for its low cost, durability, versatility, and ease of maintenance. If I was the CEO of Ford, I'd get back to those principles. Instead of being like everyone else and jumping on the EV bandwagon, build an affordable internal combustion engine car for the common man. Right now, Ford only manufactures one car, which is the Mustang. Most common people in America don't need a Mustang. It's impractical for a family. It's impractical in the winter. I'm not saying it isn't cool, because it is. It just is not practical for most families. If Ford built a low-cost, reliable vehicle that looked good, did not rust out, and was comfortable and got great gas mileage, I would consider one. I'd want to be shown that I could pop the hood and swap out the alternator in less than 30 minutes, swap out the starter in less than 30 minutes, and I'd want to know that I could access the spark plugs easily, and I could remove the battery without having to remove all kinds of stuff. I'd also want to see how easy it was to access the fuel pump and how easy it is to swap out the water pump. Is Ford going to do any of this? No, I doubt it. Should they? In my opinion, absolutely. But what do I know? I'm just some guy on YouTube with a big wood ship model. Now, I think if Ford were to price this attractive car for less than $20,000 and prove to the public that it is practical and durable, well, I think they would sell like crazy. Do any of you remember the first Lexus LS400 commercials? They focused on engineering. I vividly remember the stack of champagne glasses on the hood of the vehicle under operational load. It was truly impressive. What do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.